Welcome to The Explainers. So today we're tackling a huge one, a question that's literally as old as society itself.
Why do people do it? I mean, really, why? Is it just about greed? Is it about survival? Or is there something, way deeper going on? This question has baffled people for forever, really. So today, let's play detective. We're going to follow the trail of clues that thinkers and scientists have left for us over the centuries.
All right, so let's start our investigation by looking back in time, because believe me, this isn't some new question we just thought of. Nope, this is a truly enduring mystery.
For centuries, we have searched for the answer everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. In our bodies, in our minds, and even in our societies themselves. The hunt for what makes someone tick, what makes them cross that line, it's taken us on this wild and sometimes, frankly, bizarre journey. We've looked for answers in the shape of a person's skull and in the way we build our cities. It's this amazing story of how our ideas have changed, and we're about to walk that very winding path. Okay, so our first stop on this journey takes us back to the 19th century, and we're starting with a theory that honestly sounds pretty shocking to us now. But back then, it was totally revolutionary. Get ready for the idea of the born criminal. So there was this Italian doctor, Cesare Lombroso, who came up with this really radical idea. He basically said that being a criminal wasn't a choice you make. No, he thought it was some kind of biological thing, like you were a throwback to a more primitive human. And the craziest part? He believed you could actually spot a criminal just by looking at them. And he wasn't vague about it. Lombroso was super specific. He made up this whole checklist of physical traits, things like having really long arms, or a big jaw, or deep-set eyes. The idea was, if you checked off enough of these boxes, well, you were basically destined for a life of crime. Now, of course, this theory has been completely, totally discredited, but, and this is a big but, it's actually really important in our story because it was one of the first times anyone tried to study crime scientifically. But, our investigation didn't just stop there with biology, far from it. Over the next 100 years or so, the focus shifted. And I mean, it shifted dramatically. We went from looking at the body to looking inside the mind. And then we zoomed even further out to society itself. So let's follow that path, right? Let's see where it took us next, which is deep inside the human mind.
So the investigation did a complete 180. We moved away from the body and into the brain. From physical stuff you can see to that invisible world of psychology.
Yeah, this simple question. What if the answer isn't in our bodies, but in our minds? It changed everything. Suddenly, researchers began digging into whether the real roots of crime could be found in our thoughts, our feelings, our past experiences. So psychologists started searching for these internal culprits. They looked at personality traits, right? Like, are some people just wired for risk-taking? They dug into the really deep scars left by childhood trauma, and they started to understand the role of mental illness. Heck, even Sigmund Freud got in on the action. He suggested that our hidden, unconscious desires could bubble up and explode into criminal acts. But just when you think we're getting somewhere, bam, the investigation takes another huge, dramatic turn. The question became, what if the problem isn't just inside the person? What if we've been looking in the completely wrong place this whole time? So, around the middle of the 20th century, sociologists came along and just completely flipped the script. They basically said, hey everyone, you're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, what's wrong with this criminal, they started asking something profound. What's wrong with the community this person comes from? And this new way of thinking led to something called strain theory. It's actually a really powerful idea. Think of it like this. Our society is constantly telling us to chase success, right? Get the great job, the nice house, the whole shebang. But, and here's the key, it doesn't give everyone the same legitimate tools to get there. So when people feel that strain, when the normal paths are blocked for them, it's almost inevitable that some will turn to illegal paths to get the very things society told them they should want in the first place. Okay, so we've looked at our biology, we've looked at our psychology, we've even looked at society. But what about just choice? Plain old free will. Well, that brings us to the next big theory on our list. This is called rational choice theory, and it totally puts the power back in the hands of the individual. The idea here is that maybe most criminals aren't broken or sick or products of a failed system. Maybe they're just rational people making a calculated decision just like you or me.
Basically, this theory says that a lot of crime boils down to a simple cost-benefit analysis. You see an opportunity, you think, okay, what's the reward here? Then you think, and what's the risk of getting caught? And then you make a choice. What's so wild about this is that when you look at it this way, a person stealing food because they're hungry and a CEO committing massive fraud, they're kind of using the exact same logic. Is the reward worth the risk? Yes or no? But that leads to another question, doesn't it? If crime is just a rational choice, what shapes that calculation? Why does one person look at a situation and say, too risky, while someone else says, yeah, I'll take that chance? Well, a really compelling answer is, we learn it. We learn it from the people all around us. And that brings us to our next clue, social learning theory. This one argues that criminals aren't born, they're made, they're taught. Think about it. If you grow up in an environment where breaking the law is just normal, or maybe it's even rewarded with status, with money, with respect, then you're way more likely to see that as a totally valid option for your own life. In a very real way, this theory suggests crime is almost contagious. All right, wow. We have been on quite a journey, haven't we? We've gone from biology to psychology, from sociology to economics. We've collected all these different clues from over the centuries. So, what's the answer? Where does all this leave us? So, after all that searching, what have we learned? Well, here's the big reveal. The mystery remains. The biggest takeaway is that there's no single, easy, one-size-fits-all answer. I know, maybe not what you wanted to hear, but the truth is, why people do what they do is just incredibly, incredibly complex. I mean, think about the huge range of motives. Someone might commit a crime purely for survival, just to eat. Another person does it for power. It could be about revenge. It could be something as simple as peer pressure or greed. Or sometimes, maybe it's just plain old curiosity. Every single person, every single case is its own unique puzzle. And that right there is why this question is so, so important. This isn't just some dusty old academic debate. It's real. Because if we actually want to create a safer world, a better society, we have to get past just punishing the act. We have to really start, trying to understand the why that drives it. So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. The next time you hear about a crime on the news, on social media, wherever, don't just ask what happened. Push yourself a little further. Ask why. Because buried inside that one little question isn't just the key to an old mystery. It might just be the key to building a better world.